As many of you know, I am in love with Italian genre cinema. And I grew up with the movies that made it over to America, was Dario Argento, Lucio Fulci, Sergio Martino. But that was my first introduction, Lamberto Bava, Mario Bava, the Giallo films. That was my first introduction to Italian cinema. And I didn't understand dubbing and why the voices were dubbed. And then I learned, of course, with at Cinecittà, with the way that during fascism, the way that everything was dubbed and people got used to it. But as a kid, I used to fight it, but as I got older, I started to love it. And I loved this almost otherworldly quality the movies have. And the Italians, nobody does violence like the Italians. It's like, but that goes back to, Pasolini and Rossellini. And then when I was a teenager, I discovered Cannibal Holocaust. And before that, I had seen Cannibal Ferox by Lenzi. And I loved it. And there was something about those movies that made you feel the directors should be in prison. That they were really killing people. They were so real and terrifying. But what really, over time, I watched Cannibal Holocaust more and more and more, and you couldn't find any information about it in America. So I would try and read books. I thought Deodato really killed people. And of course, I met him, and he's a wonderful, wonderful, sweet, sweet man. And didn't kill anybody yet. But I thought what I started reading was the lineage of these movies. And I realized that Deodato was the assistant director to Roberto Rossellini. So he took the aesthetic of Italian neorealism, and the other director he was assistant to was Sergio Corbucci. So he takes the violence of Sergio Corbucci and the realism, and he combines it. And I think that is why the movie is so powerful. Not only did Ruggiero start this whole genre, he really created a whole other form of modern cinema, which is the docu-style found footage movie, which then got reappropriated by Blair Witch Project, but then again, Cloverfield, we use it for L'Autunno Esorcismo, Paranormal Activity. These are the biggest, most relevant movies today in horror, and it all can be traced back to Deodato. So I think that for many years, the cannibal movies were almost put, if here's cinema, then here's horror, is the people consider, I love it, but many people, critics will dismiss it as in the garbage pile, and these were considered the sleaziest, with the animal killings, these were considered almost like the worst, most nastiest form of horror, yet for some reason, today, in America, more teenagers than ever have the t-shirt for Cannibal Holocaust. And more people than ever, I've done screenings for Cannibal Ferox and Cannibal Holocaust with 35mm prints, and they're always sold out. And it is always a younger generation. They never got to experience it in theater. So I love these movies, and for me, it's kind of a dangerous form of cinema. You watch it and you realize they're really in the jungle. And what I've seen in Hollywood is so many directors sit in a chair on a stage and make a movie from a chair behind a monitor. And one thing I love about Quentin, who is really my mentor, was he does not direct with a monitor. He stands next to the camera. He has no trailer. And he says the reason directors, the reason their dicks get soft, as he puts it, the reason their movies start to suck when they're older, is they get fat in the chair. And they get lazy, and they don't want to get up and talk to the actors, and they let the cinematographer do it. He said they get comfortable in the chair. So I wanted to make a movie that was crazy. We went farther into the Amazon than anyone had ever taken a film crew before. We were in Peru. We filmed in a village with people that they had never seen a movie before. There's no electricity. So we brought them a generator and a television. They'd never seen a television. They'd never seen ice cubes. And we showed a village of 300 people in the Amazon, Cannibal Holocaust. And everyone in the village, from 5-year-old children to 90-year-olds, they all signed up to be in the movie, to play the nativos. So there are 5-year-old children in this village who have never seen a movie, and the only conception of what a movie is Cannibal Holocaust. If you asked this child, what is a movie, they'd say, oh, that's where people eat each other. That's the only thing they know. So I was very proud of that, to bring Italian cinema to the Amazon. But I was always curious, I wanted to make a movie for modern American audiences, and what I saw happening in America is this new form of activism that I call slacktivism, which is the laziest form of getting involved in a cause. They look at Twitter and they go, oh, save the dolphins, retweet, Coney 2012, retweet, and then they go back to their lives. And I felt that Twitter has become a place where people have become very, very sanctimonious, and they want to really demonstrate how much they care. But they're just hitting a button. They're not sacrificing anything in their lives. So I wanted to write about the modern students that especially with a lot of people getting involved in Occupy Wall Street, there were people that I know my cousin, for example, was going and occupying because it was easier and cooler to occupy than work at Starbucks. And then he could just tweet all day, yeah, fuck the banks, occupy. Just like talk to girls. People are going to meet girls. So, and then really Coney 2012 was the breaking point where I just saw 100, you see Justin Bieber and Rihanna and Katy Perry, 100 million people are sending around a YouTube video, and granted people care about it and people want to help, but a lot of the time you're just pushing a button and you're not really doing anything. And people, I think, really a lot of people want to help, but more than that, people want to look like they help. And I wanted to write a story. I thought it was with the destruction of the Peruvian Amazon, which is real, you can look on Yahoo, on Treehugger, there are photos of the last uncontacted people. Now people are coming at them with iPhones and putting it on YouTube. And on YouTube, they have these videos of these tribes people that have never seen anyone in the rainforest, and now they have cameras in their face and satellites. So I wanted to really show the clash of cultures, which is a theme in all of my films, show these modern, smart New York City kids and the primal, primitive man that just see them as invaders, and these kids thinking that they're going as the savior of these people, and these people going, you're invading our land, we're gonna chop you up and eat you. So but the genesis, I think that it's too easy to dismiss the Italian cannibal films, the films of Lenzi and Deodato, even Sergio Martino. I think that there are so many, it's such a lost type of filmmaking in this part of the jungle. A lot of these places don't exist anymore, that I wanted to make a movie that when people watch it, they go, the people who made this must have been crazy.